My maid of honor booked my exact wedding venue and vendors for her own wedding and scheduled it on my late dad's anniversary, then crashed mine yelling I caused her to lose her baby, which she really lost drinking. So when the truth about her pregnancy came out, her life unraveled in the best way possible. My friend Lily has been copying me since freshman year of college, and I let it happen every single time. It started with my thesis topic on childhood grief. She said it was depressing when I told her the idea, then pitched the same angle to our professor 2 weeks later. I let her have it because she was going through her parents' divorce. I should have seen the pattern then. I'll never forget her face when I showed her my new bob haircut junior year. Her eyes scanned every angle like she was memorizing it. 5 days later, she walked into our dorm with the exact cut down to the asymmetrical part. When I said, "Hey, we're twins," she laughed and told our suite mates she'd been planning it for months and that I was adorable trying to copy her. The way she said it with that little smile made my stomach twist, but I laughed along. She did the same with my vintage sundresses senior year, studied them like evidence, then bought every similar dress in town. But I owed her everything. When my dad died sophomore year, she was the only one who didn't treat me like broken glass. She let me ugly cry on her dorm floor at 3 a.m., so I let her take whatever she wanted. But my wedding was different. My dad was all I had growing up. My fiancé Joe and I planned our wedding out when my dad was dying of cancer. Every detail from the peonies to the venue where my parents had their first date. I promised him I'd have that exact wedding. We tried to get married before he passed, but we were too late. I asked my fiancé if we could push our wedding back so I could have time to grieve. He said to take all the time I needed. I thought I had an amazing support system between Joe and Lily. But then, Lily got engaged to Marcus. They found out she was pregnant, and she knew her family would disown her if she wasn't married before giving birth. I wanted to help, so I offered to share my vendor research, and she laughed. She said, "Everything you picked is so basic and traditional. Not my vibe at all." Then my venue coordinator called saying, "Your maid of honor Lily just toured here. Do you two plan to have a double wedding?" Something felt off, but I texted Lily and she said Marcus's sister got married there and he insisted. But it definitely wasn't her style. 1 week later, she booked it for 5 weeks before my date. "The only Saturday available all year," she cried on the phone. I believed her. Then came my photographer. She swore she didn't know I'd chosen the same guy. During my florist appointment, she insisted on tagging along. Her fingers drummed against her phone while she watched me discuss centerpieces. She ordered nearly identical ones the next day. "Different vase," she said. "Totally changes everything." 2 weeks later, my designer called. Lily was trying to commission my exact wedding dress design, claiming she created it. The designer refused and got review bombed until her business almost tanked. But the final straw was my father's birthday. Lily moved her wedding to that date, claiming the venue offered a better package. I told her that we couldn't have our wedding on the same day. I'll never forget what she said. "You're right. When will you be moving your date to?" Also, I noticed some similarities and was hoping you could try not to copy from my wedding. It's kind of a tacky move. I almost punched her. I told her I wouldn't be changing my date or anything else about my wedding, and she was no longer welcome. She warned me that everyone would go to her wedding over mine anyway, so I might as well give in. I refused. The next day, I received texts from vendors saying she demanded my exact orders. 3 separate vendors mentioned someone calling pretending to be me to cancel everything. At my fiancé's bachelor party, Lily showed up drunk and tried to strip dance for everyone. My fiancé called me immediately, and when I showed up, she kept touching her stomach and complaining about how she was moody because of the baby, all the while downing champagne. I snatched the bottle from her, begging her to get herself together. If not for me, then at least the baby. That's when she laughed in my face and whispered, "There was no baby." Marcus arrived soon after and carried her away. I hoped to be rid of her for good. The weeks of silence that followed felt too good to be true. No texts, no calls, no social media posts. My wedding day arrived with perfect October weather, the kind my dad would have loved. I was in the bridal suite doing final touches on my makeup when I heard shouting in the hallway. Then the door burst open so hard it bounced off the wall. Marcus stood there in a wrinkled suit, his face red and eyes wild. He screamed, "You killed our baby! You and your jealous bullshit caused her so much stress she lost the baby." He told me I was going to pay for what I did. That's when Joe appeared in the doorway, having heard the commotion from the groom's suite down the hall. Joe pinned him against the wall, but Marcus was wild with rage. Eventually, security finally pushed through the crowd of wedding guests who'd gathered in the doorway. As they dragged Marcus out, he was still screaming, "This isn't over! You're going to pay for killing our baby!" The room went silent except for my ragged breathing. My makeup was smeared from the tears running down my face, and all I could think about was how Lily once again made me her. The ceremony was delayed by an hour. My bridesmaids helped me fix my makeup while Brian dealt with security and tried to calm the guests. Half the guests were whispering about what happened. Some looked at me with pity, others with suspicion. I overheard my aunt telling someone that stress could cause miscarriages, her voice carrying through the thin walls. My hands shook as I reapplied my lipstick, smearing it twice before getting it right. Brian came back and held me tight, his cologne familiar and comforting. He told me we could postpone if I wanted, but I refused to let Lily ruin this day, not after everything she'd already taken. We got married under the oak tree where my parents had their first kiss, its leaves golden in the afternoon sun. I kept it together through the vows, though my voice cracked when I promised to love Brian forever. During the reception, people kept giving me weird looks. Some guests left early, making thin excuses. My cousin Beverly pulled me aside during the father-daughter dance and asked if I really stressed Lily into losing her baby. I told her the truth about what Lily whispered at the bachelor party. Beverly's face went pale. She said Lily had been texting everyone for weeks about morning sickness and doctor appointments, even sharing pregnancy app screenshots. The rest of the reception felt like a blur. People congratulated us, but I could see the questions in their eyes. My new mother-in-law kept patting my hand and saying everything would work out, though she looked worried. Brian's groomsmen looked uncomfortable whenever they talked to me, their conversations stilted and brief. By the time we cut the cake, I just wanted to disappear. The photographer kept asking me to smile wider. Our honeymoon was supposed to start the next morning, a week in Hawaii that Brian had been planning for months, with a sunrise helicopter tour and snorkeling with sea turtles. But when we got back to our apartment that night, there were already messages waiting. Voicemails from mutual friends asking for my side of the story. Texts from people I barely knew calling me heartless. Someone had posted about the wedding drama on social media, and it was spreading like wildfire. I turned off my phone and cried into Brian's shoulder. My wedding dress crumpled on the floor. He kept saying we'd figure it out together, stroking my hair. The next morning brought more of the same. Lily had posted ultrasound photos on Instagram with a long caption about her loss and the cruelty of false friends. The comments were full of people sending prayers and calling me a monster. Some were from people at my own wedding who'd hugged me just hours before. I wanted to scream that she'd admitted there was no baby, but who would believe me? It was my word against hers, and she had Marcus backing her up, plus months of fake pregnancy posts as evidence. Brian suggested we still go on our honeymoon. Maybe things would calm down while we were gone. I agreed because I couldn't face another day of accusations. We changed our flight to leave that afternoon instead of waiting. While Brian loaded our bags in the car, I checked my email one last time. There was a message from my venue coordinator. She said Lily had called claiming I owed her money for emotional damages and threatening legal action. The coordinator thought I should know in case Lily tried anything else. My stomach dropped. This wasn't over. Not even close. As we drove to the airport, I wondered if it ever would be. The flight to Hawaii was torture. I kept my phone off, but Brian checked his at the gate. His face went white. He showed me a post from Marcus saying they were considering pressing charges for harassment and emotional distress. The comments were brutal. People I'd known for years were taking sides. My college roommate wrote that she always knew I was jealous of Lily. Even people who weren't at the wedding were weighing in with their opinions about what kind of person I must be. We almost didn't get on the plane. Brian kept asking if I wanted to go home and deal with this. But deal with what? Fighting lies with truth when nobody wanted to hear it? I told him we were going. Maybe distance would give everyone time to cool down. The flight attendant asked if we were newlyweds. When we said yes, she brought us champagne. It tasted bitter. I couldn't even pretend to celebrate, just held the glass while watching the bubbles slowly rise and pop. Hawaii should have been paradise. Our hotel room had an ocean view and plumeria flowers on the bed. The concierge had upgraded us when she heard we were honeymooners, giving us a suite with a private balcony, but I couldn't enjoy any of it. Every time I saw a pregnant woman by the pool, my stomach churned. Brian tried to distract me with activities. We went snorkeling, but I kept thinking about how Lily used to talk about wanting to swim with dolphins. We hiked to a waterfall, but all I could think about was whether people back home believed her lies. The tropical paradise felt like a beautiful prison. On day 3, I caved and turned on my phone. Big mistake. My voicemail was full. My mom crying and asking why I didn't tell her about the drama. Brian's sister wanting to know if we needed a lawyer. But the worst was from Beverly. She said she'd been thinking about it and remembered Lily drinking wine at her birthday dinner 2 months ago. A lot of wine. Beverly said she was starting to doubt the pregnancy story and wanted to talk. I called her immediately. Beverly answered on the first ring. She told me she'd been comparing notes with our friend Sandra. Lily had told them different due dates. She'd also canceled 3 different baby shower planning sessions, always with dramatic excuses. Beverly said something felt off, but she'd felt guilty for doubting a pregnant woman. Now she wasn't sure what to believe. Her voice shook as she admitted she'd been losing sleep over it, replaying conversations and looking for clues she might have missed. That gave me hope. If Beverly was questioning things, maybe others would too. I asked her to talk to more people, compare stories. She agreed, but warned me that Lily was playing the victim hard. She'd posted about needing therapy to deal with the trauma. Marcus had started a meal train for her recovery. People were dropping off casseroles and sending flowers. Meanwhile, I was hiding in Hawaii like a coward. Brian found me crying on the balcony. He held me while I ugly sobbed about how unfair it all was. He suggested we cut the trip short. I wanted to stay and hide forever, but knew he was right. We needed to go home and face this. We changed our flights again, losing money we couldn't really afford. The hotel staff probably thought we were crazy. We'd been there 3 days and spent most of it miserable. The honeymoon suite with its romantic touches felt like it was mocking us. The flight home felt even longer than the flight there. I drafted and deleted a dozen social media posts trying to defend myself. Brian read each one and gently suggested they sounded too defensive. He was right, but I didn't know what else to do. How do you prove someone was never pregnant? How do you fight phantom evidence? By the time we landed, I'd given up on posting anything. My phone battery died somewhere over the Pacific, and I didn't bother charging it. Our apartment felt different when we got home. Smaller somehow. There were sympathy cards in our mailbox, but they were all for Lily. Someone had forwarded them to the wrong address. Or maybe it was on purpose. A twisted reminder of what she'd stolen from me. Brian threw them in the trash while I unpacked our barely used honeymoon clothes. The new lingerie I'd bought specially for the trip stayed wrapped in tissue paper. Another reminder of plans derailed. Beverly called that night. She'd talked to 5 more people. The stories didn't add up. Lily had told their coworker she was 4 months along, but told Beverly's sister she was barely 6 weeks. She'd used morning sickness as an excuse to skip things, but then posted photos eating sushi the same day. Small things that seemed innocent alone, but painted a different picture together. Beverly said she was meeting Sandra and our friend Christine tomorrow to compare more notes. She sounded like a detective on a case, determined to uncover the truth. I wanted to feel vindicated, but mostly felt exhausted. Even if my friends figured out the truth, what about everyone else? What about the strangers online calling me a baby killer? What about Brian's family who'd been at the wedding when Marcus burst in? The damage was done. Lily had won again, just like she always did. The next few days blurred together. I called in sick to work, unable to face questions from coworkers. Brian went to his office but came home early each day, worried about leaving me alone. I spent hours scrolling through old photos, looking for signs I'd missed. There was Lily at my birthday dinner, her hand on her stomach while she sipped water. But wait, Beverly said she'd been drinking wine that night. The photo was staged. I zoomed in on her face, looking for the telltale signs of deception I should have recognized. More people started reaching out. My friend Ronald from college remembered Lily claiming she had food poisoning the same week she'd told others about morning sickness. Brian's groomsman Harold mentioned that Lily had been doing shots at a bar 2 weeks before the wedding. His girlfriend had the receipts on her credit card. Little pieces of truth starting to crack her story. Each revelation felt like a tiny victory, and a massive betrayal rolled into one. But Lily doubled down. She posted about the insensitivity of people questioning her loss. Marcus shared articles about miscarriage statistics and the importance of believing women. Their narrative was strong and emotional. My evidence was just bar receipts and conflicting dates. Who would people rather believe? The grieving mother or the jealous friend accused of causing her loss? I finally went back to work a week after returning from Hawaii. My boss pulled me aside immediately. She'd heard about the wedding drama and wanted to make sure I was okay. way. I gave her the shortened version, leaving out most of the details. She looked sympathetic, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. Everyone knew Lily from company parties. She was charming and fun. I was the quiet one who kept to myself. The office felt different now, conversations stopping when I walked by, eyes following me with curiosity or judgment. That afternoon, Lily showed up at my office. Security called up to announce her, and I almost said no, but I needed to face her eventually. She came up looking perfect as always. Designer dress that hid her supposedly post-pregnancy body, fresh manicure, not a hair out of place. She sat across from my desk like we were having a normal catch-up. The familiar scent of her expensive perfume made my stomach turn. She started talking about forgiveness and moving forward, how we'd been friends too long to let this come between us. She actually said she understood why I'd been so cruel. Wedding stress makes people crazy. She was willing to forgive me if I publicly apologized and admitted my jealousy caused her stress. She'd even written a statement for me to post. The audacity made my head spin. She slid the paper across my desk with perfectly manicured fingers, her engagement ring catching the light. I told her to leave. She sighed like I was being unreasonable. Then she mentioned that Marcus was serious about legal action. Emotional distress was a real claim. They had witnesses from the wedding who saw me upset. They had her medical records showing she'd been pregnant. I asked to see them. She said her lawyer advised against sharing evidence. That's when I knew she was bluffing. But a lawsuit, even a baseless one, would cost money we didn't have. After she left, I called Brian crying. He came to pick me up, furious that she'd ambushed me at work. We spent that night researching lawyers just in case. Everything was expensive. Wedding debt plus potential legal fees made my chest tight, all because I wouldn't let her steal my wedding. Brian kept saying we'd figure it out, but I could see the stress in his eyes too. He'd started grinding his teeth in his sleep, something he only did when deeply anxious. Beverly called with updates from her investigation. More people were questioning things, but quietly. Nobody wanted to publicly doubt Lily's miscarriage story. It was too sensitive, too risky. Beverly's sister Sophia worked at the same hospital where Lily claimed to have gotten her ultrasounds. Sophia couldn't find any record of Lily being a patient, but medical privacy laws meant she couldn't dig deeper without risking her job. 2 weeks after the wedding, Marcus called Brian. Not me, Brian. He was crying and apologizing. He'd found something on Lily's laptop, search history she'd forgotten to delete, fake pregnancy symptoms, and how to Photoshop ultrasounds from 2 months before she'd announced the pregnancy. When he confronted her, she'd broken down, admitted she was never pregnant, but she insisted I still deserved to suffer for having the wedding she wanted, that faking a miscarriage was the only way to make people see me as the villain I really was. Marcus was devastated. He'd believed her completely, defended her to everyone, attacked me at my own wedding over a lie. He said he was leaving her, moving back with his parents in another state. He wanted to make things right but didn't know how. The damage was done. Even with his confession, would people believe it? Or would they think I'd somehow manipulated him too? Brian put the call on speaker so I could hear. Marcus sounded broken. He kept apologizing over and over. Said Lily had been spinning stories their entire relationship, and he'd been too blind to see it. She'd told him I was obsessed with her, that I'd been copying her since college. He believed it because she was so convincing. She had screenshots of texts taken out of context, photos cropped to support her narrative, a whole file labeled evidence on her laptop. His voice cracked as he described finding it, the slow realization that the woman he loved had orchestrated such an elaborate deception. He offered to send us everything he'd found, the searches, the downloaded ultrasound images from Google, the Photoshop history, even emails to herself practicing different versions of the miscarriage story. It was methodical and terrifying. She'd been planning this for months, maybe since the day she got engaged. Every interaction had been calculated to set me up as the villain. We told Marcus to send everything. Within an hour, I had a folder full of proof that Lily had orchestrated the whole thing, but what to do with it? Posting it publicly felt cruel, even after everything. She'd already lost Marcus, and her reputation would be ruined. Part of me wanted that, the part that was tired of being her victim, but mostly I just wanted it to be over. Beverly had been busy too. She'd organized a meeting with our friend group, about 12 people who'd known us both since college. She presented her timeline of Lily's conflicting stories like a detective solving a case. The different due dates, the drinking photos, the canceled appointments. People started sharing their own strange interactions with Lily, how she'd asked probing questions about me, how she'd twisted conversations to make me sound bad. Christine mentioned how Lily had tried to convince her not to come to my wedding months before the pregnancy announcement, said I was becoming bridezilla and it would be awkward. Sandra remembered Lily asking detailed questions about my wedding plans, then pretending she'd never heard them. Ronald's girlfriend Eden pulled up texts where Lily had claimed I was copying her venue choice, sent weeks before she'd even toured it. The pattern was clear once everyone compared notes. Lily had been laying groundwork for months, planting seeds of doubt about me while planning her takeover. The fake pregnancy was just the nuclear option when I wouldn't give in. People were angry, not just about being lied to, but about being used as weapons against me. The group chat exploded with apologies and outrage, but it wasn't enough. The wider circle still believed Lily's story. Strangers online were still calling me horrible names. My reputation at work was damaged. Brian's family still looked at me differently. Marcus could share the evidence, but who would believe the ex-boyfriend over the grieving woman? Lily had created the perfect lie, wrapped in a tragedy too sensitive to question. Then Lily made a mistake. She couldn't resist playing the victim one more time. She posted a long rant about Marcus abandoning her in her time of need, how he'd been manipulated by me and my jealous friends. She claimed we'd hacked her computer and planted evidence. The post was unhinged, full of accusations and contradictions. She'd lost control of her narrative and was spiraling. Marcus had enough. He posted the screenshots publicly. Every search, every downloaded image, every practice email. He wrote about being deceived and manipulated, how she'd used a fake pregnancy to hurt an innocent person, how she'd made him an accomplice in ruining a wedding. He tagged everyone who'd attacked me, asking them to apologize. It went viral in our extended circle within hours. The backlash was swift. People who'd sent Lily flowers demanded apologies. The meal train organizer posted about feeling used. Comments poured in from people who'd suspected something was off, but hadn't wanted to doubt a miscarriage. Others shared their own stories of Lily's lies and manipulations over the years. The friend who'd lost a promotion because Lily spread rumors. The roommate whose boyfriend Lily had tried to steal. Years of victims finding their voices. Lily tried damage control. She claimed the screenshots were fake, that Marcus was abusive and trying to discredit her. But people had stopped listening. Too many stories were coming out. Too many people comparing notes and finding patterns. Her own friends started distancing themselves. The ones who'd been her flying monkeys realized they'd been used too. She showed up at our apartment on a Thursday night. Brian answered the door while I hid in the bedroom. I could hear her crying, begging to talk to me. She said she was sorry, that things had gotten out of hand. She never meant for it to go so far. She just wanted what I had. She always had. The crying turned to screaming when Brian wouldn't let her in. She said I'd ruined her life, that I'd turned everyone against her. Classic Lily, still making herself the victim. I heard her fists pounding on the door, her voice getting more shrill and desperate before Brian threatened to call the police. The next day, she was gone. Her apartment cleared out overnight. Beverly heard from a mutual friend that she'd moved back home with her parents in another state, deleted all her social media, disappeared like she'd never existed. Part of me felt relieved. Part of me felt robbed of a real confrontation. After everything she'd put me through, she just got to run away. But the damage lingered. Some people still believed her original story despite the evidence. Others thought we were both wrong, that the truth was somewhere in the middle. I had to have awkward conversations with extended family explaining the situation. Brian's parents needed multiple reassurances that their new daughter-in-law wasn't a monster. Work remained uncomfortable for weeks. Therapy helped. My therapist said Lily showed signs of something called mirroring, common in people with certain personality disorders. They build identity by copying others, then feel rage when the original won't give up their place. The fake pregnancy was extreme but fit the pattern of escalation. It helped to have clinical terms for what I'd experienced, made it feel less personal somehow. Brian and I renewed our vows 6 months later. Just us, an officiant, and our parents at the same venue. No big party, no drama, just the quiet ceremony we'd wanted to have with my dad. It felt like closing a chapter. The photos show me actually smiling, not the forced grimace from our first wedding. My mom cried happy tears instead of confused ones. I still run into people who knew Lily sometimes. They usually apologize for believing her lies. Some share their own Lily stories, how she'd copied their style or stolen their ideas. We bond over surviving her manipulation. It's weird having that in common with so many people. Like we're all members of a club nobody wanted to join. Marcus sent a final email last month. He's in therapy too, working through how he'd been manipulated. He's dating someone new who knows the whole story. He thanked me again for not pressing charges over the wedding incident. Said he thinks about that day with shame, but also gratitude that it led to him discovering the truth. I didn't respond, but I'm glad he's healing. The friend group is stronger now. Going through that drama together bonded us in unexpected ways. We're more honest with each other, quicker to call out concerning behavior. Nobody wants to enable another Lily. Beverly jokes that she should become a private investigator after her successful evidence gathering. We laugh, but there's truth in it. She saved me with her determination to uncover facts. Sometimes I wonder where Lily is now. If she's found new people to copy, new lives to steal. I hope she got help, but doubt it. People like her rarely think they need to change. They just find new victims who don't know their history. But that's not my problem anymore. I survived Hurricane Lily and came out stronger. She doesn't get to take up any more space in my head.